Take the tree of life and now I'm with my highness. Yeah, my baby girl, she be the finest. Ooh, stirring up my dreams to fourth dimension, where I work on my inventions, where I override the system, make my niggas in attention. Yeah, I see the symbolism, but my rents stay protected. I'm invested with subconscious, cause it always read the message. I'm addicted to this knowledge, so I always bump a lesson. I'm enlisted with conviction, so I might just be arrested. With the ancients in the spaceship, had to curb the Fibonacci. With the angels, I see angles, now I'm moving like I'm cocky. If I see some flaming swords, I knock the nigga out like Rocky and guarding. Don't mind if I do, I just got started. Baked an apple pie inside the garden. Jehovah smelled that gas that I was farting. Caught the nigga over, we were sparking. He asked why we eating carcass. I say cause it's sheep in a market. Trust me, Lord, I did not start it. Dope in the dome, that's a firmament. 12 signs of zodiac, Bible refurbish it. 33 vertebrae, Christ when you stand up straight. Don't got a Jeep, but I feel like a renegade. Hate get delete cause the love like an interstate. I won't repeat cause I feel some way anyway, cause. Hey guys, I want to go ahead and get this thought out before I start editing this song that you just heard at the beginning of the video. So basically, I've been writing a lot of notes. I'm going to go ahead and show you them. This notebook, by the way, it's called a Wave notebook. I got it for Christmas last year. It's lit. It's basically an infinite notebook. So as you write in erasable pen ink, as you go through with it, I'll hold them in case you want to like pause it if you're curious. But I'm doing this also from the selfie camera, so I'm sorry if it's like a little blurry. I can't really tell what the screen looks like. But I've been recently going back into this notebook, and basically why it's infinite is because it's connected electronically. It has a QR code, and it has these little, it's kind of hard to see right now in the darkness, but there's like 3 circles or 5 circles that if you put an X over, it'll tell you where you want to save it, and I can code in the software if I want it to go to my email or on OneDrive or Google Keep or anything like that. So it's pretty cool. But basically, once I'm done with all this, I just put it in the microwave with a cup of water on that circle you're looking at, and it erases all of the ink. So that's lit. So yeah, this is just like what my notes and stuff are. It's old stuff. What I'm showing you right now leading up to is this recent stuff right here, and everything past this point, and how like I found out my natal chart was wrong, because basically with tropical or Western astrology, the astrology that when we look up our birth charts and how we rely on the calculations of the website, they're all wrong. Because the problem with traditional or Western astrology, or just what you think of when you think your natal chart or astrology, is that it relies on a 4,000-year-old calendar. That's wrong. And the reason why is because our natal charts today don't take into account precession. So this whole time I'm walking around thinking I'm an Aries, but actually I'm a Pisces. And then, so because I did all my placements again for like what the fuck all this was, because instead of relying on the calculator and typing in, you know, my birth time, my birth date, my birth location, I instead just went on Stellarium, which is a free constellation program. You can go on the website, or you can just actually download the version of it on your computer. Also, if you have an iPhone, because I'm not sure if it's on Android, but on the iPhone, Stellarium has a mobile version, which is top notch. It's actually $10. And I gone ahead and got that. That was like the best investment I've made in a while, especially for the phone. Because I don't really play games on my phone. I mostly use it for like a utilitarian purpose. But what I understood is that by just looking up at the stars at that time and the same information I put for my original natal chart, just looking up what the fuck do the stars look like at that time. Fuck the calculation. I need to see this with my own eyes. And I saw that the placements were different. I'm not an Aries sun, Scorpio moon, Scorpio ascendant. I'm a Pisces sun, Libra moon. And I'm actually not sure my ascendant yet right now. There's actually a YouTube channel. I wouldn't even really call her an astrologer, but fuck, man, this is a wise, very wise woman. And her name's Lavette. That's it, Lavette. Please watch her videos. Go to her videos. She has a small channel. I think she has 4,400 subscribers right now. But I need y'all to look over to her and start watching her videos, because the shit she's talking about is, well, not shit, but you know what I mean when I say that. But it's the shit. It's like the holy shit, like shrooms. It's crazy. It's very enlightening, and it's refreshing compared to all this information that's all around in this age of Aquarius. Because we are in an age, we just got out of the age of Pisces, and that's like deep, dark water, like infusion. We're just pulling out of that. And so with that, we really do need some guidance for like, what the fuck is this 2020 thing all about? What is the symbology we're supposed to be studying? What is this universal language that makes all this shit easy to understand? and I found out it was alchemy, and how alchemy and astrology are the exact same thing. It's just alchemy is the thing you use to superimpose on everything else, so it gives you a new pair of eyes and ears. So the movies you're watching right now, the TV shows you're watching right now, the books, the stories, all that stuff you've already consumed, you perceive it differently. And even just from the little bit of studying I've done so far, I've seen it everywhere. Like, look, you also start seeing the symbology everywhere too. Your eyes pop out. It's like my most common analogy for this, and I usually equate this to, I use this example for synchronicities, but this really goes with everything else. But how you start thinking of wanting a red car, and now all you see on the road are red cars. So same thing like that. Even right now, let me show you this real quick. I just got this cover yesterday, and guess what that shit's called? It says Moon Star. Like, are you serious? All just little things like that, where everything has astrological symbology to it, and I didn't really pay much attention into it until I started looking at the alchemy, looking at the alchemical linguistics of the world. So with that, I have a right here, as I was just doing more notes. These are my notes from the study of alchemy / astrology, and how just seeing how reading up my natal chart with the corrected chart, I resonated with it way more. I didn't really agree with like the idea of me being necessarily aggressive. And when I was growing up, I was a badass kid. Like, I only did that out of like rebellion. I just wanted fucking attention. I was like Naruto. Like, I was just the class clown in school, and I just wanted to be seen because I always felt invisible. And it's funny I bring that up because literally earlier today, I was stocking up one of the floors, and this lady really, she walked up to the Pixis, like the little machine you do the count inventory, and I'm like on the other end of the room, and the room isn't even that like large, mind you, it's pretty small. And I was just sitting there, and I'm listening to music, I'm bumping to my stuff, and as I need to walk past, because she's kind of blocking the door, I walk past and she's like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there." I was like, "What?" But the thing in my head was, I didn't even take offense from it. It actually gave me an epiphany, because it made me think about how basically the way you feel, or basically you put out the energy that you experience in reality. It's such like a backwards mechanic, like than what we expect. Like, when we react, we assume that the outside world is giving us something. But really, if the world is just our subconscious mind playing itself out as a hologram, which I guess we would call this physical world, that's why we call it a matrix. It's a prism. It's some type of after image of something else, which is just something larger that we can't articulate, which we call mind, or subconscious, or God, or nature, or geometry, or math. We have all these different terms, but they don't describe it because it's much greater than that. And so that's why we can only use comparative terms. But it made me realize, from her saying, like, her not noticing that, I was thinking about how I'm projecting that energy of not being seen, because literally I feel like I'm not seen. So I'm pushing out the energy that when it happens, the event happens. So her saying that thing, my normal reaction would be like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like, what? Like, how am I not? How the fuck do you not know I'm there? Like, big fucking black dude." I'm not big, but you get the point. Like, it's a dark skinned nigga, like in an all bright room. Like, how do you not notice me? But no, this is why I think self-aware thought is so important, because it's questioning your assumptions. Whenever you have a reaction to something, realize that you always have the option of conscious silence. And that's what in Judaism, I believe, or Gnosticism, I can't remember. No, it's Judaism. Actually, it might be a sect of Judaism, but it was called Shtikah. And I know I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's Shtikah. And it's called The Art of Conscious Silence. Now, I'm going to have a link in the description box for the article I read a while ago about it, because while reading it, I was like, damn, I kind of been like that. Like, I have a big ass mouth. I'm not going to lie. I know for a fact that the reason why it was kind of so hard finding people that not on the ego way, on the same level as me, but just people that I could have conversations with about this stuff. The people that were as curious as me. That's how I see it. No one's fucking, just like what Jacques Fresco said, no one's smarter or dumber than you. It's just some people have the tools and some people don't. So I felt like it was so difficult growing up talking about my experiences I've had before I went into the research and saw the science connected to it, because simply most people don't experience it. Their comparative terms for how they see this stuff is, are you on something? Like, are you smoking? Are you high? Or like, are you crazy? It's like, they're all the same thing. It's like you're assuming all of it's made up, and I'm not gonna lie, it is fucking offensive, but it doesn't affect me. Now I'm not gonna lie, during conversation, like if I'm saying like I'm opening these concepts to people who already have like a general awareness of it, unfortunately through mainstream, because that's not that's where it all comes from, it is a bit tainted. So when you talk about these concepts and you're trying to show them like, look, you have to forget the connotations of what you think I'm talking about, just listen to the words. I do realize that I come off a bit stern, like a bit stone-faced, where it's like just listen to the words, and I'm not sure if they're separating the word. Basically, it's like confusing the message for the messenger. It's like, it doesn't matter who it's coming out of. Just listen to what it is and take what works for you and throw away the rest. And that's why I see it as everyone's a teacher and everyone's a student. That's almost another thing too, like why we talk circularly, and I realize that's actually a divine feminine aspect. That's in terms of electricity, because I know people get thrown off from hearing male or female or masculine or feminine or anything like that in this age. Electrical wise, the male polarity is the positive and the female polarity is the negative. And the reason why is because the female, let's just break it down to anatomy. A female has a vagina, so it's pretty much a hole in their body, so it's going in, or it's the upwards motion that's coming in, that's negative, that's like a magnetic force. And then you have the male positive, we have a dick, like it sticks out, so that's positive, and that's electric, and they have to exist together, and that's why you have electromagnetism. And even in the terms of electricity, anytime there's an electric current, there's always going to be a presence of a magnetic field. You can't have one without the other. And so that's actually why everything corresponds with each other. You can't just see one thing and then try to argue with me about how, no, that's too far of a stretch. Like, is it really? Everything is as above, so below, as within, so without. And if you just don't know about that, then yes, that's going to be your natural assumption. But I'm sure you can find examples in your everyday life. It has nothing to do with looking at books or anything like that. And that's my whole perspective on this knowledge. Like, most of this stuff I've looked at, it's so familiar to me. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, it's such a revelation. And I actually kind of got caught up in that in my journey of learning, because it kept feeling like if I wasn't feeling that same high I felt in March 24th last year at 4 a.m. when I had that what I was labeling at the time, the fifth dimensional perspective, which is probably, I don't even know what it is, but it still doesn't matter. It's still beyond words. How I was labeling it as that, if I felt like if I couldn't find any experiences that matched up to that level of coherence, that quantum coherence I felt, then it wasn't worth pursuing. And so again, it's like being in the Matrix. It's like you got that shiny object syndrome, where it's like, if nothing adds up to the amount of intensity that I experienced in a prior situation, then I have to toss it out and pursue endlessly until I meet that. But it's like, you see how it's a paradox? You'll never meet that because you're always comparing something from the past. You can't use the past as the reference, because when you use memory, you're always fucking changing it. Your memory's never solid. Like, it's not like a computer where you can look back and, oh, there's that picture, there's that PNG file I left on my desktop or in a folder, because it'll always be there, it'll always look the same, it'll be exactly how I remembered it. Your mind doesn't work that way. It's way more complex than that. You look back and it's always got some shit changed because you keep looking back at it. That's why it's called in hindsight. Hindsight isn't such a bad thing. Like, when niggas be like, well, in hindsight, I thought, hindsight is proof of your state of progress, because for you to even have hindsight on some shit, now you realize, you kind of reconcile, like, what's up. That's how I see it. I don't really see it as much as a burden where it's like, damn it, now like I'm thinking about this and I could have done that. I stopped doing that. Now it's more like, and that's transmutation, to make something, to pull something together, pull both sides of something, pull it together and make it work for you, as opposed to fighting it. Make the resistance that you feel, make the things that bother you in your day, reverse it around in your head in a way to where you can rest on it. doesn't need to disappear. You just need to be able to rest on it. And so, just like my example I said with this lady that came into the place I was stalking at my job, I reversed it. You know, I took it from, oh, that kind of hurts, because it's like, what do you mean I'm not seen? It's like, is this just some aura I always have around me where people don't notice me and I don't feel like I exist? And I turned that into something where it's like, I literally put out the energy that I expect myself to have. And it's a really weird paradox, because it's like, how do you get out of that then if it's a loop you're self-aware of? And my answer to that would be really by noticing it. And it's not by noticing on the specifics. When you keep having thoughts like that, where you pay attention to how that thought even created itself. And if this sounds too abstract, I'm really sorry. Like, this is just, when I make videos from now on, it's just going to be freestyle, because I understand that my words flow when I'm just being honest, not scripting anything. Because when I write notes, it makes my speech choppy. It's hard to talk because I don't normally communicate that way. I'm very situational, and I'm pretty sure that's just a normal thing. But like in general, like how I like joking, it's always situational. I never make fun of someone. I always laugh at the situation, because everything in my head pretty much can be turned into a skit. So that's why, like, when things happened, it's just inherently funny. Like, I guess that's like what they mean by like having a childlike nature, because I always am able to self-entertain myself. I don't feel like I need other people to do that. I'm just always happy within myself. And so that's why it feels really weird about being in a relationship, because it's like, I don't want to drag the other person because they feel more intense towards me than I do towards them. And it's not even because of them, it's just because I feel whole in myself. And I think the very fact of having a partner is like you looking for your whole in another person, which is like a paradox. You can't do that. And so I don't know how I feel about that. But I really like how this video turned out, to be honest. It was just going to be a quick video where I was going to talk about the what was going on with astrology. And it's funny because it actually finally brings it back to you. And I figure now that, like, if you're still watching my videos and you've been watching it like since the beginning, then I figure you just enjoy like listening to what I have to say, as opposed to like, get to the point, nigga, we're looking for the information only. So let's get to the information. And I'll probably have like a comment I'll say, here's the time skip, because this nigga keeps derailing. Which to me is just, I think circularly. So I don't really feel like I lost my train of thought, because obviously I went back to it. So getting back to it, there's a book called The Book of Aquarius, and it's an alchemy book. But what's so different about this is that I didn't know it was an alchemy book until I read it. It's called The Book of Aquarius. So it's like, whoa, this sounds like something grand. So I read it on a website called Sacred Text. I'll have the link in the description for that too. It's a whole archive of esoteric books for all sorts of topics that you could be possibly interested in. And sorry, my throat's really dry. But in this Book of Aquarius, the way this person wrote it, and first of all, it was published anonymously, and as you're reading up, it's an easy read. It's broken up in very small chapters, and it tells you how to make the Philosopher's Stone. And as I was reading it, it was getting me so intrigued that when I was off in Massachusetts, I was telling Andy about it. And we literally was thinking about planning, just sitting down and like fucking grinding out at whatever job we had or the insurance company, and just preparing the stone and waiting for it to create itself, because that was the whole idea with alchemy. Alchemy is simply the process of imitating and accelerating nature. An alchemist doesn't actually make the stone. You're just optimizing the conditions necessary for nature to facilitate its own process. So you'll see that in the first chapter of the book. And see, that's how well that fucking book is written, because it's so simple and I still remember it. So yeah, from there I realized after reading it and after those months, and I started going more into spirituality, because I realized I was pulling myself away from it, from the stress of money, and just figuring out how to get a car, and or how to just make money from my YouTube, because I do want to have a more business-minded aspect towards it, but I don't want to pursue it full time yet, because I feel like I don't have enough of a centered focus to start going that route, you know, like having a Patreon, or bringing my what was it called? Venmo, my Venmo or PayPal backup. I don't know. So I'm still working on that. But what I realized after all that time, and then I found out about Lavette's channel, was that maybe this book itself is metaphorical. Maybe it's an alchemical encoded document, because now that I think about it, all those terms he was using, like congealing and distillation and urine and stuff like that, they're all alchemical terms. And after studying the alchemy, I realized that maybe I should go back to this book with new eyes and translate the book with what I know. And maybe that'll give me an answer in some form. So that's literally was the purpose of me hitting record. I wanted to just say that. I just wanted to say that I want to retranslate this book of Aquarius, because it was breaking down in simple terms how to physically make this Philosopher's Stone. And because of as above so below, I am sure that there is a physical correspondence to the white stone and the red stone, which basically like creates all these crazy benefits to the human body and like increases our electromagnetic field and all that. But I didn't have the time or money to like set up the equipment, which it isn't that much stuff. You'll see it in the book. It's not hard. And the ingredient comes from inside of you, literally. So I do want to experiment and see if it's real, like do it physically. But I think it actually is an encoded alchemical manuscript. And the reason why what's so interesting about this is that the Book of Aquarius compiles all of the documents and breaks it down simply. And so that's why I was like, oh wait, and watching Lavette's videos where she was saying to do the great work of alchemy, you actually don't, it's actually by not doing the work. You have to just read. You just have to read the alchemical text, read until, and eventually you'll see a pattern start to form. And you write notes about whatever pattern carries over in each book. And that's how you know you'll find the truth, because you're having a second witness. You're having multiple sources to what these things are saying. And then, it'll all click for you. And so the awakening is in the doing itself. It's not from any book having an answer. And so it just dinged for me that I was like, oh, wait, fuck. I just read, or already read months ago, the Book of Aquarius, which basically compiled all of the alchemy books. So I don't have to worry about stressing over which books are real or not, because this Book of Aquarius also talks about that. How some of the books are like from the perspective of just niggas who heard about alchemy, but then you have the people who actually did the alchemy and we're talking about it. And then also how every alchemist, they'll make up their own fucking terms for stuff, and those terms will have its own definition. So it's like, it gets really confusing unless you read a series of alchemy books from various people in various centuries, and then seeing what has transferred over through the ages and seeing what stays and what is kind of like just warped around and shit. So yeah, the Book of Aquarius cleared that mental barrier for me, because I was like, how the fuck do I start studying this if I don't even know what I'm supposed to be reading? I can spend my time reading this 300-page thing that's confusing as fuck to me, and then I find out it's fake, and I'm wasting my time. And so yeah, the Book of Aquarius is the solution to that. So now, with my knowledge of alchemy, I'm just going to translate the Book of Aquarius, and I'll make another video if I find anything interesting. Okay? So that's the fucking video. Could have been like 1 minute, 50 seconds, but I see how I obviously had a lot to say, so I'm not going to edit it out. Bear with me if that shit does bother you. Personally, to me, I guess these are like my vlogs where I just drop gems. I drop information for whoever got the ears to hear and the eyes to see. But for the most part, it's freestyle. It's freestyle.
Meditate, because I don't need your fucking mental climate. But, I'm just trying to stack them on my finance. Yeah. I see the synchronicity. I know it's perfect timing. I gotta put the work without us whining. Transmutate the tree of life now with my highness. Yeah, my baby girl, she be the finest. Ooh. Niggas just be talking about an ultimate alliance, but it's silence. So all they really think about is violence. Meditate, because I don't need your fucking mental climate. I'm just trying to stack them on my finance. Yeah. I see the synchronicity. I know it's perfect timing. I gotta put the work without us whining. Transmutate the tree of life and now with my highness. Yeah, my baby girl, she be the finest. Ooh, stirring up my dreams, the fourth dimension, where I work on my inventions, where I override the system and put niggas in attention. Yeah, I see the symbolism, but my rents stay protected. I'm invested with subconscious, cause it always read the message. I'm addicted to the knowledge, so I always bump a lesson. I'm enlisted with conviction, so I might just be arrested. With the ancients in the spaceship, had to curve the Fibonacci. With the angels, I see angles, now I'm moving like I'm cocky. If I see some flaming swords, I knock the nigga out like Rocky and the Guardian. Don't mind if I do, I just got started. Baked an apple pie inside the garden. Jehovah's with a gas that I was farting. Caught the nigga over, we were smart.
barking. He asked why we eating carcass. I say cause it's cheap in a market. Trust me, Lord, I did not start it. Dope in the dome, that's a firmament. 12 signs the zodiac, Bible refurbish it. 33 vertebrae, Christ when you stand up straight. Don't got a Jeep, but I feel like a renegade. Hate get delete cause the love like an interstate. I won't repeat cause I feel some way anyways, cause niggas just be talking about an ultimate alliance, but it's silence. All they really think